Hello. It's like
What? You don't only get like a little cool intro, you get a little bit of a dance moves from the
you get
Karlas.
some old lady chair dancing moves.
Old lady dancing. You know?
But chair dancing moves. I mean, that's pretty cool. Like, no one does that anymore. I mean, who does that? I remember there was that show on PBS, like back in the day, that did like chair yoga. We could do our own show where we do chair dancing. Like, maybe this isn't our deal. Maybe we should go do that.
I know. Just as a little pizzazz, you know. That's such an old person's word, pizzazz. Oh my goodness, Carla. So, Carla, how many?
Well, first of all, before you even ask me what I've been doing this week, I just want to let you know that we now have 27 subscribers to our channel.
That was what
that means. What does that mean, Carla? Can you do math? How many more subscribers do we need to get to 1,000 if we need 27?
Squillion billion people?
That would be great, but we only need 973 more subscribers. So if you are watching this, please hit the subscribe button, like our little video, comment if you will, and we will like you back. I mean, we'll try to. Or we'll entertain you.
They don't even have to. Our lovely listeners and viewers, you don't even have to watch the whole thing. Just subscribe. Just say, you know what, I want you to shut up. Just subscribe. It's okay.
Yeah, you don't even have to listen to us, really. I mean,
maybe we'll have to get a hypnotist on next time. And then everyone watches it and then they're like, oh,
subscribe to our Anyway, enough with that business. But please click that subscribe button if you can.
Okay. So, on to the topics for this week.
Crimean Bridge. Well, that was quite a scene that happened last week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Talk about like a little escalation happening in this little proxy war with Russia, Ukraine. What do you think, Carla? I mean,
I
didn't do it.
Well, I looked at that and I thought it's one of our ex-boyfriends.
Well, our ex-boyfriends are all psychos, so obviously maybe one of them could have done it, but actually I don't know. That seemed like that's a pretty big deal. And
that's a big thing for them. They're not that smart.
What's that say about us? Carla.
Oh, but really, this is like a terrible telenovela. And you kind of think, okay, it's terrible. There's a war in the Ukraine, you know, a hospital will get bombed, whatever. And then you're like, okay. And then you think it's now, you know, it can't get any worse. And then this happens.
And it does. And it gets worse. And it actually, what this does is like after we talked about that Nord Stream got Epstein last week, that was one escalation. This is the second part of the escalation that we don't want to get us, closer to nuclear war. And just this week, President Biden said that we are the closest to Armageddon that we've been since the Cuban Missile Crisis. And that is scary as F. If you ask me.
Why aren't we more scared?
Well, the crazy thing is that today they're talking about like, okay, so Putin's crazy. He has nuclear weapons. He might use them. He might not use them. It's like all this kind of mixed messaging we're getting from from the White House and from the media. Like he's crazy. He's not going to use them. We're going to keep invading. We're sending more and more weapons there, which is only going to, as I said before, poke the bear more and maybe get him more agitated and maybe make him use weapons. And someone's going to blow up a bridge. And I mean, it's like, and then they say, it was leaked out apparently today or yesterday in the White House that they may not see an end to this war. they don't know if there's an end to this war or where they can see that there's an end to this happening. So again, I mean, what's going on here? Like, I want to know, like, what are they doing? Is like, do they want this to keep going on for a long time? Because, like we said before, there's a lot of money to be made over this war. And do they really care about the Ukrainian lives is what they really care about. Because if they did, I would think that they would really want to create some kind of peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine. And but the only kind of options right now is like Putin has to leave Ukraine. And now, I mean, we talked about how in March there were talks that, you know, Zelensky actually, they were in talks with in Turkey to have some peace agreements, and the West apparently stepped in and said, no, don't do this, don't do this. And they marched in Boris Johnson from UK, your homeland country, to tell Zelensky not to do this. So it's like, if I wasn't crazy, I would think that the West wants some endless war happening because they're going to make some money off this.
Actually, Zelensky met with Erdogan today, didn't he?
Was it today?
Yes.
Yeah. And what happened?
I don't know. No, so we'll have to find out.
Because, I mean, Zelensky also said, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, that he would not compromise unless Putin was gone and out of power. So they want, obviously, there's a regime change kind of wanting to happen right there from the West. I mean, this has been wanting to happen for a while. But I'd be curious to see, like, I didn't know that they met today. I didn't get that part, but I was very busy today, so I wasn't paying that much attention to the media. But if you can find anything, and if you can pull anything up about that, I would love to hear about that. But if there is any peace agreement happening, I'd be really happy to hear about it.
And this is, you're right, Carla, because you would think that we should be doing everything we can, the West should be doing everything they can to come to some sort of peace agreement. Everything we can with Putin. And we're not Putin apologists. We're just like, you know, let's deal with Putin later, but let's just try and come to some kind of understanding where this just needs to stop.
Yeah, I mean, and there's, I mean, I don't want to say that Putin was right for invading Ukraine, but I can sort of see the situation with the Donbass region, the ethnic regions in Russia they've been being bombed by the Ukrainians, you know, for the past 8 years. And, you know, there was a Crimea that actually did vote to want to actually get into Russia, which they're there. And this whole like blowing up the bridge, it was done on Putin's birthday, his 70th birthday. There was a huge like social media campaign done about this, like, you know, photographs like on social media, happy birthday, Mr. President. And now, and right now, like they're trying to investigate what happened there, because like the Russians are saying this was a terrorist act, and the Ukrainians are saying no, we didn't do it. But then there's all this like, oh, like, you know, social media action on this, and it's like it's just another escalation that I don't know if we need. And I also found out, I mean, we don't know what happened. I mean, I did read in the Gray Zone that there was some talks that there was some some English spies who were planning this for like months and months now. And I mean, that's a sort of a NATO thing. They've been planning this for a long time, because they know that bridge is very symbolic to Putin. I mean, Putin like was very proud of this bridge, and it's a big, and it happened on his birthday. And it's like kind of it's symbolic in many reasons. And it's like if you don't, I mean, that's an escalation in my mind. And I don't know if we want that.
But I was going to say, is it bloody Guy Fawkes, is it? I mean, I don't know. This is insane. And it does make you wonder, like there are so many different outside factions to this war that, as you say, like how much are the British involved? How much well, I'm not even sure about the Germans, because the Germans just want gas from Russia. They
I
didn't
know.
want
And like you said, the United States is going to make a lot of money off of this deal. Nord Stream pipeline, like right then and there, like that was done deal. Um, it's going to be very lucrative for the United States. And I mean, right now, like, I mean, the United States, we're having some like definite economic issues here, but I think the rest of the world is having them worse. I think Biden today said that, oh, we're not as bad as some of the other places in the world. And I think that he might be right. I mean, other places might suffer more than we have been suffering, although we do suffer a lot. We just, we see it every day.
suffer less if that money that we put into the military industrial complex was actually geared or basically if we would just the normal poor people of America were the recipients of all this money, federal money.
I know it makes me really sick when I like find out the amount. I mean, the amount of money now is gone.
We don't have money.
They want an endless war. They want an endless war. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like the fact that they're saying that they're not going to negotiate. I mean, I'm not sure about the Erdogan thing with Turkey, but the fact that the United States say we're not going to negotiate with Putin, and Zelensky says they're not going to negotiate unless we don't have Putin, and I'm not sure what Russia's saying. I think who knows? He's probably saying we're not going to negotiate because you're doing things that we don't like. So no one's willing. We got to get to the table. I mean, there's been like several kind of generals on TV lately, come up like and said like there needs to be a peace agreement, or I mean, this is heading to a bad place. If one tactical nuclear weapon drops, which is supposed to be like it's maybe blow up a neighborhood, but like that could cause. I mean, one drops, another one drops. I mean,
they're stoking
to a good place.
Beast, we're stoking. Putin will deploy nuclear weapons if we keep going.
Well, and the fact is, like, he may or he may not, but the fact that we are putting him into a corner and we're just pressing him. I mean, maybe he won't. But I mean, it's weird because Biden says I don't think he's going to use them. He's not. He's bluffing. There's so many mixed messages we're getting from the government and from the media about this. They're saying he's a monster. He's out of control. He's crazy. And then they say, oh, he's bluffing. He's not going to do it. It's like, well, what's going on here? Like, are we? It's a flip a coin. I mean, I feel like they're going to flip a coin. We blow up the world. We don't blow up the world. Like, are we going to take this risk with our lives? I mean,
do you think that this war also is the last big war between the East and the West? And if Ukraine is able to fight off Russia and America basically has Ukraine as their little pawn, America will have basically relegated Russia to the bottom of the chain, and America will again assert its dominance over the world. I mean, this is America's chance to say, look, we feel threatened by Russia. We always have done, and this is like our last time. If this is successful, we don't need to worry anymore. We'll just find another enemy.
I mean, I don't know if we. I mean, I feel like, I mean, after the USSR dissolved, I feel like, I mean, the United States had. I don't know if Russia was a huge threat after that. It just depends on who's in power, and what we're gonna always go after. I mean, it's gonna be like money, gas. Russia's got gas, resources, that sort of thing. I mean, they're a superpower for sure, but like they're not. Their GPA is not that huge, right? I mean, it's like isn't that of Italy? Or it's not gigantic.
Yeah.
So I don't know why. I mean, yeah, I think that if they were able to take over Russia, they would have control over Europe, which is kind of what they're in a way trying to do right now.
Yeah.
But it just seems silly to me. I also don't think that, honestly, that they're going to. I don't think that Ukraine's going to win this war. I mean, it's the only reason why they're doing so well is that we've given them so many like billions of dollars of weapons. And I think the United States that was leaked today, they said that they don't know if there's an end in sight. So I think this is like another Afghanistan, but
yes. Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
It's very worrying. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want, please, like, let's not this escalate anymore. I want peace. I mean, I'm not a Putin apologist. I just don't want any more Ukrainians killed, Russians killed.
Something has to give. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, on to our next subject. America's next top champagne socialist. It's our friend AOC.
And look what I have.
What did you learn about AOC in that article?
I actually didn't read it. I just read what other people said because I didn't have I couldn't do it. I got it and I got these subscriptions in my store sometimes, and I got it and I was like, it kind of scared me because it was like, first of all, why is she on the cover of GQ? She's a politician. She should be serving the people. Like, what is this like celebrity politician stuff where we like worship politicians? And I don't know. I was like, it just kind of gave me a bad taste in my mouth. I brought it home today from work because I was like, I knew we were going to do this segment, so I was like, I wanted to show it off that I had it. I mean, not that I'm proud of it, but that
she's cuter than Elizabeth Warren and Hillary.
Yeah. But we should talk about what happened today. Apparently, she got heckled by some people at like a little town hall meeting she had in her district. And we can't play the video clip because I guess we could, but it's just too chaotic. But they basically were calling her out for not speaking out against the war in Ukraine and about supporting it, about voting for the money, the billions of dollars that are going to this war, which should maybe be spent here to help the people that are starving, which is every day it's getting worse and worse. And also, I think one of the complaints was that she claimed to be someone that, like, the people that were, yelling at her from the audience were saying, like, we believed in you and you failed us. And, you turned to the person that, you said you were against and weren't going to be like, and now you're that person. And so I thought that was, I think it's right to do that. Mm-hmm. Of course, AOC turned around and said that they were being rude, where even like, I think like when she first began in Congress, she said that was okay to make politicians feel uncomfortable to like protest. I think maybe when she's going in front of Nancy Pelosi's office, that was like, what you should do is to make politicians feel uncomfortable because they're serving you. And now she's turning it around saying like, oh, well, you're being rude. I can't talk to you. So what do you think?
AOC's lost her edge. I think AOC is just that kind of fierceness and that kind of pugnaciousness that she was known for. She's become, I hate to say it, it's like Obama, where suddenly you're in this position, you're a minority and you got where you need to be, and then you're frightened to make any ripples or to upset your base or the people that basically are funding you.
Right. Because like the people that are funding her can only maybe give her $27 every now and then. Not people are funding, the people that she is claiming to represent can only give her a little bit of money. They could probably give her like the $20, $10. They can, but the people who are really funding her can give her a lot of money, and she's got to please that base. So she's gonna like ignore the little, $10 donation people, and in lieu of that,
because it's about getting power. I wanted to see her as president because I thought it'd be.
At one point I did too.
Everyone.
Now I'm like, I don't think I would vote for her now. Honestly, I think she's just too. She's shown her true colors, and I think a lot of people on the left are like, turned off by that. What do you think?
Of everyone that is running, I think she's the most exciting candidate. I am disappointed in her. I am. This war's made me disappointed. Not only that, I mean, I remember you and I talking about AOC in the infamous Met Gala where she wore that dress, Tax the Rich, and it became this whole, you know, about why is she there anyway? And, you know, it was a publicity stunt. And, you know, she's not this grassroots kind of real lefty that we thought she was. I think she's become very enamored by stardom. It probably is quite
and
easy.
Money and power.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's starting to get a little bit more removed from her voters. And Carla, you showed me that clip of her town hall meeting. And actually I was visibly emotional about it because it reminded me of people of the Iraq War again. And when the public, when they were protesting the Iraq War, and it felt like that. I mean, basically the two guys that stood up, one of them said, you are supporting this war, a war where we're giving weapons to Ukrainian Nazis.
Yep.
And she didn't really say anything, didn't she? I think she was quite shocked. But I think there used to be such this fearlessness about her, even with Palestine. You know, she hasn't stood up and, you know, and really defended Rashida Tlaib or, you know, it just.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem. I feel like that's what's so weird about this entire thing is like, you know, first and foremost, like any leftist, like I thought that was like in the handbook he got when he became a leftist. It's like you got to be anti-war. You know, because war is devastating. It's bad for the environment. It's bad for the economy, except for the you know the people who are making money off of this. But it's bad for on so many levels. War is bad for humanity, and you need to be against this. And it's just weird. Like even Bernie has voted for this war. I mean, but Bernie has voted for some. I think he might have voted for the Iraq war, but like he's been silent on this issue.
No, he didn't.
And
no, you're right.
I think he might have voted for the first time, one of the first times for the Iraq. But I think
no, you are right because
but he's spoken out against Yemen. He's had a voice against a lot of these.
Yeah,
you know, these horrible things that the United States, you know, funds and goes after and butts into. But this time around, I mean, everyone is just like, it's a bipartisan issue for the most part to fund this war. I mean, it's Democrat, Republicans. There's like, you know, maybe 11 or a handful of Republicans are against this war. I don't know why. I mean, I'm not sure if they're like if you know, you may say that they have, you know, not the good faith in this to you know.
Oh yeah, no, I think the right are only in favor of only on Russia's side because whatever the left do now, the right have to be vehemently against it.
But most of the right, though, I mean, I have to argue with you. Most of the right, there's only like I mean, maybe it's the populist right, like the Marjorie Taylor Greens. But I mean, I have to at least they're saying something. I mean, I'm not sure if they really agree with, who knows? I mean, they also agree with all kinds of crazy ass stuff too.
But the right are known for being very pro-war.
But it's not like it's a whole right, though. It's not the whole right. I mean, it's like this. There's a handful of this crazy right wingers who are against this war.
Even the same right have always been pro-war.
Oh yeah, of course, yes, of course, and that's you see the left. And I mean, honestly, it's like, I mean, even like if you go back to the Iraq War, you know, there was like maybe like all the right was for, it was like kind of the opposite situation. most of the right was for this war.
Right, love war. They love
and then for the left was like bipartisan in it, but there was a handful of leftists, maybe a handful, that were against it. So it was like kind of switched, it switched over a little bit. But it's just odd. It's like, but I always thought like, oh, like, where's like that give peace a chance thing, or like, no one's talking about that. I mean, it just seemed like, even like leftist like people that I know are like, they've gone crazy. They're like, they want to escalate. If you're not escalating this war, then you're a fucking Putin apologist. That's it. You're done. You're out. You're not allowed in the conversation anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, Carla. Absolutely. And I want AOC to get her fire back, because she was so promising. I mean, it sounds like the squad are just, I think out of all of them, you've got Nina Turner, who I think is probably, for me, a real fighter. But Nina Turner, I think, will not. She's not going to get. She's not going to get enough support from the Democratic Party. She's far too radical. She's far too radical.
She's too radical. And what I think she did with her last campaign is that I think she tried, and I think the Nikita Oliver here and, where we live too, kind of did the same thing. She tried to kind of a little bit, bow down to the Democratic Party a little bit, try to like be a little more mainstream. And I think Nina did that. And I think that hurt her, because it's like, she started kind of, to kind of try to like make a little bit of those amends. I mean, like, before, like, but she got in trouble for saying that like voting like Biden was like eating a bowl of shit, and they used that against her. And then I think she tried to kind of like, so like, in a way, you almost got to be Trumpian about this stuff. If you're going to like stand up against the Democratic Party, or even if you're in the party, or what they like, the things that they're being corrupt about, like, just be strong about it. And I think she was to a degree, but I think at one point she was trying to win that race, and she had to kind of like, reel things back a little bit. And I mean, Bernie did that too, I think. I mean, he didn't. Yeah, I think he actually did that too. It's like, you got to like, I think honestly, that's why you have to be strong, because this Democratic apparatus, like DNC, they're a force to be reckoned with. And you cannot, like, if you're going to play games, then you got to play. You can't just like say, okay, we'll let you win this time, because they will crush you. And they crushed Bernie. They crushed Nina. They'll crush anybody.
I still don't. I mean, I remember we were talking to Branna, what's it, Gage? Joy Gray. I'm always getting her name mixed up, even though I love her. And I remember, do you remember us? We spoke to her probably, was it last
summer, yeah. We met her. I know, we should show a picture.
Do you remember we talked about Bernie, why we asked her, like, why do you think he stepped down? And she said, no one knew. He just like disappeared. It was like he didn't tell anybody. I'm like, what happened? There's some like really some tough guys got him in a room and threatened to cut off his fingers and toes, and what?
I don't know. I mean, I sometimes wonder about that stuff. I mean, like, it's the power, like the DNC. It's powerful. I mean, the two-party system. I mean, I think they kind of work hand in hand sometimes. They're just like, you have power. Like they want to keep that system going. That's why they didn't want any other parties like in there. I mean, of course, in Europe, how many parties do you have? In like Denmark, they have like 17 different parties, and then I mean, they might all have not equal chance, but they might have a better chance than just like the two parties that we have. If you're not on the two parties right now, you're screwed. I mean, I don't know. There's never been, I think, well, has there been an independent that has won for president ever? I think so.
Yeah.
There was one person that came close, but I don't know. Anyway.
Our message to AOC is do better. Do better.
Yeah, do better, please. I mean, we believed in you, and now I don't. I mean, I don't. I'm sad. I don't trust her. Right at this point, I don't trust her.
Maybe
earn my trust.
maybe that town hall meeting shook her up a bit. She needs it.
She was called out, and
Yeah.
they were absolutely 100% right to do that. And I'm glad they did it. And that needs to be happening to more politicians. They need to be like, because it's become like this kind of like celebrity thing now. You're not a celebrity, you're a servant. You're a servant. You sign up for it. You're a servant to the people, to your constituents. You're not a fucking celebrity, on the cover of GQ.
Well, it's like all these famous people posing with Zelensky.
Yeah.
Like it's People magazine. Like it's like, what is it? There's that segment of like, all the little parties they go to. It's like a Vanity Fair.
How does Zelensky go to all these really crazy Hollywood parties when there's a war being fought in Ukraine? Like, I'm like always baffled by that stuff. Do they just green screen him in? Like, I don't understand. Like, I should get there. I'm gonna go to this award party here and this, and there's a major war going on in my country, so I'm gonna like go to this Hollywood party over here, this award show here.
I was gonna say,
I don't know.
Has Sean Penn gone to see him yet?
I think he did. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Oh, Carla. Well, on to our next subject. Hey, Jude.
Oh,
little captions, but Carla and I, we did a field reconnaissance mission on the field reporting on the front lines of Seattle downtown. There was a Julian Assange rally. Last Saturday, there was in England, in the Houses of Parliament, all the supporters of Julian Assange, they held hands and they made a ring around the Houses of Parliament.
A human chain around the house.
Chain. And when Carla and I...
And also forgot, like, they're all over the... Chris Hodges, your boyfriend, spoke in D.C., made a speech over there. There was, major protests like in most big cities. But here in Seattle, well, we showed up to cover this hard-hitting, like, scene. News reporters, like, went down there to see what was going on in downtown Seattle with the Julian Assange rally, because it's going on everywhere.
Yeah,
in major big city.
Okay.
What did we find, Carla?
It was like a little book club meet at your local small library. It was a handful. When I say a handful of people, it really was. There probably were like 10 people.
It was 12, I think.
Okay. I will say this: that
we made it 14.
Well, the organisers, it was very impressive. They had this van with Julian on it, and they had a big head, like Julian's head, on the van, and it kind of rotated around. It was really cool. It was really
it was cool. No, they were so awesome, and I was like, what struck me about what was so weird about this is that we supposedly live in Seattle, one of the most progressive cities in the country, and only 12 people showed up, or 14 with us, to this rally. And I was like, it was sad in a way. I was like, what? Like, I don't know. What does that say about Seattle? What does that say about Seattle? It says a lot about Seattle. It says also, as we went down there, we saw, it's not the Seattle I remember. Mm-hmm. Seattle's always been like downtown's a little bit seedy, but like, it was like, to me, I hadn't been down there in a long time. You've probably been down there more than I have, but I was just shocked about like the poverty, the people smoking crack in the alleys. Not to say our city's pet, but yeah, it was sad. And then we couldn't even find, and we finally found the rally like right in front of Pike Place Market. It's like, there they are. Yeah. But anyway, what else do you have to say?
Yeah, but I would say, Carla, that I was very sad about it, that Seattle now has become the city where we are not as radical. We're not radical as we used to be. We're really not radical enough.
No, we remember we hosted the WTO. Like,
And
then
yeah, I was
yeah,
going to say, Carla, that for me,
I remember taking my daughter down there. Like, I mean, kind of suching it, meeting at tear gas, but yeah.
But that to me is Seattle, that like you would stand up for your rights and get out there and that nobody, the sad thing about this is that this is such an important time of history about Julian Assange, because this is our journalism truth, the truth about everything that's happening in the world. All our news, if we silence these voices, these journalists, we won't have a real true media anymore. It will be it's going to be propaganda. It's going to be it's just going to be lies. I mean, we already are in that situation. And Julian is so important because he was the one, WikiLeaks were his organization were the ones that exposed the truth behind the Iraq war, and that there were no weapons of mass destruction. They had the pictures and everything. And even though Julian is he could be a very kind of diverse, divisive person in some. I mean,
a lot of people actually think like they hate him because he also, like, WikiLeaks exposed the emails about the Hillary Clinton campaign and how they were screwing over Bernie.
Yes.
And so a lot of people like are mad at him about that, and they think that he's one of the reasons that he was working for Russia, and that he, like, that's why Trump won. And a lot of people have this misnomer that that's the reason why that this is all happening right now, is because of that. They get confused about Russiagate and Julian and that. But what's really why he's really being like prosecuted is for how he has exposed like all the crimes that the U.S. government's done with the Iraq war and other wars. And that's why they're mad at him. And in fact, I mean, Obama did not want to prosecute him because it's a kind of a shady situation here. Because if you do that, 'cause he's a journalist, then you're going to have to like maybe prosecute the New York Times as well, because they use the WikiLeaks. They use as sources for that. And you're like, where does that end? It's a slippery slope. So Obama was smart enough not to do that. Then Trump actually was the one who came in and like decided to like, go after him, even though everyone says that, people think that he's Trump was a Putin puppet, but I don't know. It's like Trump's done a lot of damage that's like gotten to the place we're in right now that people don't realize. But anyway.
And I remember us talking about this a year ago, Carla, when we were I think you'd listened to a podcast with Stella, his wife, and it was so heartbreaking because he's got two lovely little boys. He recently got married in Belmarsh prison, and
which is supposed to be the harshest prison ever, right? Like a really terrible place.
Awful. And it was really, really sad. Like the wedding itself is kind of it was very revolutionary. Vivienne Westwood designed Stella, his wife's, wedding gown, and I think they stitched these like some quotes in there and their names in the veil, but everything was the wedding was not only this act of like we're gonna do this even no matter what's happening, no matter if Julian's in prison, and we don't even know how long. We don't even know if Julian Assange is going to survive, because a lot of people are saying because of the trauma of what he's gone through, he's not the same.
Yeah,
I mean, he's not the same.
Well, he's got COVID. I mean, the whole thing is like, I think the press didn't cover this at all. None of the press covered this, any of the rallies, anything, anywhere. And the only thing we heard about this through the press was that he'd gotten COVID. Now he's like in isolation. He's got COVID, and he's got like some kind of lung problem too. But like nobody in the mainstream media covered this, but we did. Carla, we covered this. Do you want to play like what we covered here?
Yes, I will.
We have, so just to let you know, so we got an exclusive interview with the person that organized the Julian Assange rally here in Seattle, Washington. This is amazing. It was really hard to get, so please listen.
Okay, roll VT.
Isn't getting out, or awareness of him isn't getting out.
Absolutely. I think the coverage of Assange has been atrocious. They don't give his side, I'll just say, any time at all. It's really terrible. I don't know. That's why we have to do actions like this to kind of get the word out. I was a huge Bernie fan, as was this gentleman, and his Assange van used to be the Bernie van.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I remember the Bernie van.
Like many leftists, we became disenchanted with Bernie, so he converted his van to the Assange van. And I was living in Mexico during the last elections, and I was a huge Bernie fan, as I say, and I became hugely disenchanted. So, as you were saying, I came to Seattle thinking, yes, there are going to be people in the streets, there is going to be a rising up, I'm going to feel so at home in Seattle, and I'm from Tacoma, right? And there's nothing, people are asleep, people are asleep, I don't know.
Nobody's talking about it, there's nothing.
Seattle has become a very conservative place, I think, in many respects. There's Amazon, there's Boeing, there's all the other big companies.
There's a lot more money, but then there's a huge wealth disparity. The people with the money are the ones that have to say, especially in journalism in Seattle, no one's really talking about this was like, I feel like this is such a progressive city. We've become very complacent.
Used to be.
Yeah.
I think people are very paranoid to speak up, even at work. I work for the Seattle Public Schools, and I'm extremely disappointed with Seattle Public Schools staff for not becoming more aware, for not having more of an interest in the future of the kids we purport to love so much and support. It's really sad.
Oh my goodness, I love that guy.
Nathan. So that's Nathan.
Nathan. I want him on the show. He's going to come on the show, and Michael.
Yes.
This young kid.
But it was interesting. So out of like the 12 people that were there to support, 2 of the people were from a different country. So one was from Venezuela and one was from Iraq, correct?
Northern Iraq, yeah.
Northern Iraq, yeah. So it was like, so the percentage of, it's like, I don't know. And when you talk to those people, they're like, well, we come from a country where we've been affected by these wars and by regime change that America's caused and by this stuff. And so they understand. So I'm glad we went down there, Carla. I'm glad the Carlas went down.
I know. I'm proud of you, Carla. I'm proud of us.
I'm proud of you, Carla, too. So we should move on. Pat your shoulder, pat your back.
Okay, next topic, masquerade.
Oh yeah. So we'll get this over with pretty quickly because I think we got to move on. But so apparently, so there was a hearing in European Parliament. I think I'm saying that right. And Rob Roos is a member of, I think he's a Dutch parliamentarian from over there. And he asked, I guess there was the hearing was about the Pfizer vaccine and the goods, the bads in it. And he asked I think the closest person, the president or an executive of Pfizer, if there was, if they knew the vaccine was transmissible. And the woman, Jane Smith is her name. She's a president of some kind of international development of that program, said that they did not know, and they had to move it through with like at the speed of space, or I don't know, the speed of science or something like that. And they did not know if it would not transmit, the vaccine would not protect against transmission. So that's been really hard to hear for a lot of people, who a lot of our friends who were shut out of society. A lot of people lost their jobs because they didn't get the vaccine. And now we hear that there was no actual scientific proof that it would actually stop the spread. And that was the whole reason they said, Rachel Maddow, Joe Biden, Fauci said, this will stop the spread if you take the vaccines. You got to do this for everyone. And now we're hearing that there was no science behind that. What do you think, Carla?
Yeah, and I want to say that Carla and I have talked about COVID ad nauseum, and the one thing that we both agree on is we're looking at this holistically, that we want to get over this pandemic, and this was a chance for everyone to come together. And it doesn't matter what side you're on. I mean, me and Carla are vaccinated, but I don't want to hate someone who's not vaccinated. It's not productive, and everyone has their reasons. And at the end of the day, we went through this awful pandemic. We all suffered. We've lost people, and we've used this. It's been weaponized by our media, by political parties, to almost, if we waged a war against each other, then we wouldn't be thinking about the real things. We wouldn't be concentrating on, I mean, I mean, it's controversial to say, but we don't know everything about where COVID originated from. It could be a lab leak or whatever, also. But the thing that was really upsetting is we didn't have a lot of information going into this. We were all just trying, whether you're a doctor or you're a politician, we were all just trying to work out how can we do this with such little information? How can we save people's lives and get through this pandemic? And Carla and I were saying that if we had been honest, if every politician, if every doctor and scientist has said, you know what,
and big tech media person, like Twitter, YouTube, you get censored for saying anything bad. Just questioning, like, well, maybe this could maybe be there could be a lab leak or
then off. We couldn't question anything, and it was almost, our voices were suppressed. And I think either if you're on the extreme end of this, where you think that where there are people that who still probably are in their houses, in their bunkers right now, and they've got like 5 different masks on, and then you've got the crazy people who are like, well, I'm not going to get vaccinated, and I'm just going to walk around, and even though it's a lockdown, and I'm just going to live my life, and you've got those extremes. And then you've got the middle people. You've got the people who didn't want to be vaccinated, maybe for medical reasons, and also they could be hippies, and they believe in homeopathic remedies or whatever reason. And then you've got the people had like you and me. We had good intentions. We didn't want to die from this virus, and we thought that we were protecting other people. And for me, myself, I got COVID twice in vicinities where I was wearing a mask from vaccinated people. It was when we were able to go out, but you had to have your COVID passport with you. And I got COVID twice. And I remember my friends that were, I was scrutinized by people that really wanted to do everything by the book. And they said, well, you didn't wear the right mask, or you should have been wearing 2 masks, or you shouldn't even have left your house. And I'm like, but I got vaccinated. We were told that we could go out and, go to a bar. We still had to be sensible and have our masks on, but we were told that we were, we could be a bit more free. And it seems like the rules kept changing. And I think there's the anger that, why couldn't the CDC be honest and just say, you know what, we're just trying to wing this,
Yeah, even they just said that, well, even if, Pfizer had said up front, or the messaging had been from Pfizer, because obviously Fauci, the government, they're all getting the messaging from Pfizer, because somehow Pfizer funds a lot of stuff, maybe in the government somewhere. But if they just said like, hey, this is this is something we came up with that it's not going to stop the spread. It might for maybe a few weeks or maybe a month, maybe, but it may keep people from getting like certain groups from getting really sick. Like, you're the older people or people with comorbidities. Like this might be a good thing for those people to take. And like, maybe like you should just, take it if you feel like you need be fit. They would have done that. Like they might have actually made more money. Honestly, they might have made more money because maybe people were like, oh, well, that's a choice I have to make. But the way they force this on people, it caused people to get like, kind of like, why is this being forced on me? What's going on? Like, I don't like it caused like more,
so much fear mongering.
And yeah. But it's like, people are like, here's this thing, here's this thing. Take it. If you want to, don't take it. Whatever. But these people right here, the people that need to take it, they should take it. We really recommend that like these old people and the people who have like, comorbidities, please take this thing. Like this is going to help you survive. I think that would have been better messaging than what happened because it was the way like, I mean, these, I'm sorry, but I have to say that I'm not sure that like healthy young kids should be, taking a booster shot if especially if they had COVID already, if they hadn't been exposed to it. I've been following Dr. Prasad and I just don't think that that's, it's like, there's been no studies done about this. A lot of people, I think right now it's like 80% of children have already had COVID, so they've got some immunity to it. I mean, also there's no talk of natural immunity either in this entire discussion. I mean, nurses lost their jobs. I mean, they were the people that were in the front lines in the beginning who lost their jobs.
But I think we've all become. I do not want to spread any medical information. I don't.
Oh, no, we're not spreading medical misinformation at all.
Yeah, and I'm not, Carl, I'm not attacking you by any means. I'm saying that I think during this pandemic, everybody became this amateur doctor. Everybody had an amateur degree in medicine, and it seemed to me that it became. We almost shot ourselves in the foot. Everyone was an expert, whether you're anti-vaccine or pro-vaccine, but we're all experts and we know. Instead of I think, the smartest people are the people that say, I don't know anything, enlighten me. I want to learn. I just wanted to learn. I just want to learn about, but why do we?
Well, that was the problem. There was no science. Science, usually with science, you have a discussion. Science is about science is never 100%. It's always changing and evolving. And someone might have a different theory and you might talk to them, but there was science got shut down during COVID. There was no discussion about well, maybe this doctor has something to say about this. And maybe this person has something to say about this. It was this is what happened was, this is the way this is happening. And it was through the FDA, the CDC, whatever, these are the rules and no one can cross us. And I thought that was a shame. And that was really sad because there was no discussion.
But I think maybe before the tech age, I wonder if this was in the 1940s, I think people would have just taken that vaccination and just done it because they trusted their governments and they would just do it.
I don't know. I mean, Carla, I've got to disagree with you because I think that without the social media, people would have been okay, yeah, it would have been the same situation I was saying to you earlier. Here's your choices. This is your information. But the way it was pounded on social media, you must take this or you're going to die or you're going to kill people or you're going to do this or you can't go anywhere. The way it was presented to us, it was on social media, it was almost it was tenfold as compared with if you just go a pamphlet, here you go, talk to your neighbor, talk to your doctor. I mean, you could, I think it's a different situation. I think people have been okay, well, I can see my risks. In Mexico, when I was in Mexico, first of all, in Mexico, there was no crazy insanity to get your vaccination there. There was no mandates. There was none of that happening in Mexico. Also in Mexico, you could choose from, they had 10 different vaccines you could pick from the one from from Cuba, from Russia, from China, from the Pfizer, from this, from that. You could choose from anyone you wanted to. And they each vaccine in Mexico, they could tell you all the side effects that they had. They listed everything down straight away. I mean, it's like, so Mexicans there could choose, and they could choose not to, and they weren't going to get in trouble for not having it either. They weren't going to get, shut out of society for not taking a vaccine. But they also had like many more choices. Here we had Pfizer, Moderna, and J&J, which turned out to be like a whatever I got.
But I think, and I was talking about this with a friend of mine, and we were saying, all of this, the anger that we have that this happened to us, and we all feel this is not fair. It happened at a time we've all lost years of our lives, especially young kids, have lost, people meant to get married in 2020 or go on vacations, or they lost family. I mean, we've all lost this time, and there's that anger. And I feel that anger got fueled, and we could just focus it on each other. And it was such a sad thing for me to see, because this should have brought us together as human beings. This should have been, and
absolutely.
And I don't want us to be angry. I think anger is just not. It's not going to help the situation if we're angry at our family for not taking it, or we've got to. We're now coming out on the other side. I mean, COVID's always going to be here now, but now we're coming out. We're living our lives. Our kids are going back to school. I think it's time now for us to stop this divisiveness around COVID.
I agree with you 100%. I mean, I completely agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard for a lot of people. But yeah, you're so right, Carla. Absolutely, you're right. I mean, we have to stop this. I feel so bad. I know people who've lost family members, friends. Mm-hmm. Not fun. And I feel like ultimately, though, I think this is, I don't know, if you want a conspiracy, I kind of feel like we go back to stuff. It's like, I feel like the people on top want people divided. They want us fighting.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes.
When we're fighting, they can continue to make money.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So let's not make it happen. Let's stop fighting.
Yeah, let's stop fighting. Let's move on to greener pastures.
Let's just all go to the pub together.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's do our famous little as the newscasters always have, the little cat story. Our last segment it's always about dating. Carla, explain.
Oh my God. OMG. So right when we were preparing for this podcast, I got a message on Tinder. I was like, okay, I normally wouldn't look at it, but I was like, we're doing podcasts. It's about kind of dating. So I'm gonna look at this stuff. And I kid you not, that was my message. You want to get high and boat this weekend.
And you jump at the
photos. Like, Carla came with a photo, but that was the message. I am not kidding.
Wow.
Huh?
The best date in the world.
Yeah. Okay. So disclaimer. So I did go on a date with this man on Lopez Island. I go to Lopez Island sometimes because I'm fancy like that. Like, a little boring island.
Well, you wear kimonos. Of course you're fancy, Carla.
Yeah. And so I just one day I was like, oh, let's get on Tinder. And so this guy, I don't know, he came up on his boat. He lives I think he lives in Edmonds or something. And so I met him on his boat. I was like, my daughter was like, don't go out on the water with him, Mom. Like, she was so worried about me. Like, I'm like a little child. Like,
you might not be safe.
Yeah. I was like,
did you have a life jacket on there? Did you have a life jacket?
No, we just stayed in the marina. It was fine. We didn't go out on his boat. He just fed me cheese and wine and tried to get me drunk. It's fine. But yeah, so whatever. He was, nice bloke, as you would say, I guess, but probably no connection. And
oh no, I was so excited. So you're not going to go on the date with him? It's like,
I mean, if I want to get high, maybe. I mean, like, no, it's like, but no, I mean, so I hung out with him. We had some cheese, we had some wine. He played me some David Bowie. He saw on my profile like David Bowie, so he played me some of the David Bowie on the boat. And then I said, I want some yacht rock. I want some yacht rock. So we had some Steely Dan happening for a while. It was okay, but it was like there was no like, I don't feel like there was much of a connection. And then like, plus he wanted to get me. I think he just wanted me to keep me there drinking. And I was like, I've got to go. I've got to drive on the island home. So I can't do that much. So I left, and then the next day, I think next few days, I saw him. I was with my daughter, and we were like in the village, and he was like, Carla, and like Aurelia was so embarrassed. Like, it's someone from Columbia City. And it's like, no.
And there's no. I'm a bit sad about this.
It's okay. So now he just wrote me back and said, "This is what he says."
I think that's a great chat up line.
You want to get high and boat this weekend? I'm like,
it is the best chat up line ever. Actually, that's wine on his boat.
I also still have 2 dates this week. Two guys wanted to go out with me, and I was like, one of them I used this podcast as an excuse from last night, and we're supposed to do it last night, and I was like, I'm doing my podcast. I can't. And I think
I feel like I might have to go back on. Oh, I don't even want to say it. I don't want to go online again. But
I can't do it all by myself, Carla. I cannot. It's like I can't do it for both of us. Like, it's too hard for me. You need to help me out here.
I feel so dirty. It's just desperation, isn't it? But someone's got to do it. I'd like to hope that I'd like to meet someone in real time, but it's so hard in Seattle. I don't know about London anymore. I feel like in London,
They're full of perverts. I know about those English boys. I read about them.
But they're so polite about being perverts.
I know. I do. I do.
Love them. They're funny. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen in Seattle. And if somebody did come up to us in Seattle and ask us out, they're obviously a serial killer. That's how Ted Bundy was so prolific, because he was the one guy that would go up and say something.
Carlos don't get caught by serial killers, obviously. We do not. We're still alive. We're still here.
We've had some.
I almost want to bet with this guy, but maybe he's trying to serial kill me now with a weed. Maybe this is like the keys. This is a while ago too. I was like, how do these boys just keep showing up? I'm like, what? Like what?
The chat online is brilliant. I would just go online just for the pure entertainment of just the open.
I know I can't provide all the entertainment anymore, Carla. I'm sorry, I'm done. Like, it's your turn. You will get this weekend.
I remember the last time I was online, there was this.
Listen, I wasn't online. This is funny. Okay, we switched, just so you know.
Well, there was this guy, and he was in his 60s, and he was a retired rodeo cowboy. Like cowboy on the rodeo, and he was like, I think he was in Montana, and I was just fascinated by him, and we would just have a chat, and it was like I was collecting this little, like, really interesting guy. I was just like, wow, I get a cowboy. And it wasn't like there was obviously no attraction, but it was like it was quite funny. I'd ask him questions. I'm like, so did you do a bit of rodeo today?
I don't know.
How's your role? Did you go horse riding? And like I was just fascinated. Oh, and then I asked him about the
as a Brit, you must have been, right? I mean, that I would be.
I asked him how to do all that. You know, all the little. I'm fascinated by it, and his outfit and his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I might be like inspired by some guy from Wales doing some weird Wales thing. I don't know what they do in Wales. Weird language and stuff. I might be like kind of intrigued. Who knows?
Or like a Scottish man that was doing the Highland Games and he's tossing the caper. Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to say that.
I don't know. The Wales, the Wales men are
Welshmen.
A little more. It's a little bit. I don't know. A little crazy. The Welsh. Are you there?
They're like hobbits.
Yeah, it's weird.
I mean, I don't want to alienate any of our Welsh.
No, the Welsh. No, I love this beautiful country, beautiful, and I loved being there. I'm not lying.
Yeah,
very happy to be there.
Meet a Welshman or someone on the British Isles.
Yeah, or just someone in I'll go anywhere. Just get me out of this country.
On that note, Carla, I always love our little chats, and especially about our dating. So maybe I'll have to bite the bullet and go back on there. Oh, I
do it.
About it. Do it.
For my entertainment only, and for the audience, please.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, we can talk next week about it.
Thank you, Carla. And
Thank you.
We'll see everyone, or you'll hear from us next week. Bye-bye.